new book claims that Bill Gates' efforts at gobbling up land for supposed green initiatives are actually just the tech billionaire trying to enrich himself at the expense of average Americans. Author Seamus Bruner claims in his new book, Controligarchs. I'm sorry, I didn't get the pun. Controligarchs, that Gates' efforts.
It's a great title.
It is a pretty good title. He argues that Gates' efforts to buy up American farmland and invest in synthetic dairy and lab-grown meats is aimed more at creating a monopoly than eliminating climate change. Gates insists that innovation and new technology like synthetic meat and milk are necessary to combat climate change, arguing that in his blog today. The new tech he was helping to develop, he says, will be critical in humanity's efforts. Just last month, Gates said that there were a lot of climate exaggeration and urged people to think more positively about developments to fight climate change. Here's some of that. Let's watch.
There's a lot of climate exaggeration, that climate is not the end of the planet. So the planet's going to be fine. We're not going to completely reverse development. So this is all numbers. Will we hit 1.5 degrees? No. Will we hit 3 degrees? No. We'll be below. We'll be in that range. The lower, the better. And the sense of progress that's important for people to see, that emissions in many areas have come down.
So this book sounds very interesting, Controligarchs. I like that pun. We're going to try to get the author on to tell us more about specifically what he's accusing Bill Gates of. So, our commentary is going to be more limited than it should be, but we'll get some more expertise on this subject soon. We've obviously covered in the past the way that Bill Gates' advocacy for instance, the COVID vaccines, was accompanied by him being financially involved in Pfizer, and then he sold off a bunch of Pfizer stock and made a killing, which, fine, he's a businessman, go forth. But I think the issue is that obviously he's a businessman and he can make money, he can invest in whatever he wants. But his public persona is that I'm just doing what I think is best for humanity. That is disguising a little bit of it being best for the bottom line. With the vaccine thing specifically, I remember him then pivoting to being like, oh, you're gonna get a spray in the mouth. That's gonna be the new hotness. Like, are you investing in that now? I am interested when we get this guest on, we'll have to ask him about the intellectual property. It sounds like he's alleging Gates and others are doing patents in all these alternative food sources. And from a libertarian perspective, I'm always concerned about intellectual property going too far and actually preventing innovation and preventing competition and markets from operating properly when early movers or the wealthiest and most connected people like Bill Gates are able to stop you from having innovation in the healthcare sector, the food sector, because, I have the patent, haha.
I mean, also particularly in the realm of kind of biological patents on forms of life, whether it's, I think there was an early case that involved whether or not you could patent a kind of microbe that had been developed that would decompose petroleum or some kind of oil product in a useful way for production, and that allowing that sort of thing opens up a real Pandora's box. You have, this is nothing new, but companies like Monsanto that have obviously have patents on certain strains of wheat and other kinds of crops that are grown all over the country and all over the world. When wind blows the pollen from some of those patented crops into a farmer's field that has not bought the Monsanto product, but then is pollinated by that and has evidence of those genetic markers in their own field, Monsanto can then come and sue them for property theft, for intellectual property theft. And that is something that has devastated farmers across America. Exactly. So there are a lot of really interesting questions about if you think that everyone's going to be moving to plant-based products because of environmental reasons and cows being a large source of methane and causing deforestation and all of those kinds of things, are we going to have this sort of a problem exacerbated? It's also worth noting that whatever you think about any of this, Bill Gates is apparently the largest private landowner in the United States of America. He owns about as much land as about a third of the state of Rhode Island, which doesn't maybe sound that big, but in terms of what everybody else owns,
Largest private owner. The federal government owns tons of land.
Oh, yes. Are you begrudging our national parks?
They should sell it off. They should sell it to the state. They own a lot of land out west that should just be sold back to the states, in my view. It's a different issue.
All right. Well, it's about 270,000 acres spread across about 18 different states. And there's this question about whether or not it's really about environmental protection and issues or not. In a 2021 Reddit AMA, Gates was asked about this, and he actually denied that it was about climate. He said, my investment group chose to do this. It is not connected to climate. But I don't know if there's mixed motives. I don't know if he didn't know that his investment group had invested in it for climate reasons. But there's this idea that they're not making any more land, so it's always a sound investment. And I can understand why people would be skeptical about why the richest man in the world, one of the richest men in the world, would be owning so much of a property, a thing that cannot be reproduced, a finite resource.
Right, especially because in interviews he occasionally comes close to advocating some kind of authoritarian policies based on his, or seeming to appreciate them. Like when he talks about China and COVID, he'll say things like, well, yeah, they violated a lot of civil liberties and a lot of everything, but man, they really got that COVID. And of course, eventually they had to relax that policy because people were so fed up with it. And then you had, like 1 million deaths instantaneously, just like everyone else. But that desire to shape society and mold it the way that rich, smart people getting together think things should work that way is something to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I'd also be concerned about the centralization of food products the same way I am about other kinds of resources. I mean, we have seen in recent past efforts to make it more difficult for people to find their own energy sources, to put solar plants instead of incentivizing that behavior. At times, the government has de-incentivized that. You're seeing this actually right now in Gaza, where there has been a targeting of solar panels in Gaza by the IDF, so that they can truly be in control of all of the power and resources that are going into Gaza. There are neighborhood rules that are preventing people from growing their own gardens and having sustainable lawns. And, I think many people are increasingly in an apocalyptic mindset because of all that's going on in the world. And when you look at how few companies control the food supply, how these big businesses have forced small farms out of being able to compete, not just because of patenting life itself, but also because economies of scale don't make it marketable, don't make it profitable. Sure. It is a scary situation to be in.
It will not surprise you to learn that I and my colleagues at Reason, where I also write, are not big fans of usually they're very local regulations, but I'm still not fans of them, that prevent you from having chickens and things like that in various places. No, we should have farming freedom. We should let people grow their own stuff.
Break up Tyson. Break up the big three meat producers.
Yeah. Break them up. Well, not by fiat, but by competing with them.
By antitrust regulations.
No, that's not at all what I was saying.
All right.
Not even close. More Rising right after this.